All right, here we go. Real quick. So there we go. Still have the view. Little, not as much sun. Okay, so if you saw the video yesterday, um, that was just the FRQ practice response. So I gave you the two questions, one about the concepts, and then the other was about research methods. And then so in that video, I just kind of went through kind of line by line and some certain things addressed. No kind of rocket scientist tips I gave you, but maybe some stuff to help you along the way. Again, don't necessarily worry about the time. Don't take an hour and a half or anything like that per question, but make sure you're getting all the content covered. That way you're at least reviewing and kind of retaining some of that information. But also, making that mental note about where you are in proximity of the time allotment. Okay. And hopefully later today, I'll send you out kind of the response to the follow up video, the FRQ, where they kind of go over the answers and get that out to you ASAP. Today, going into the weekend, here's kind of another lecture, and I'll probably send just another assignment out there over the weekend. And we might zoom on Tuesday. Okay. All right. So emotion, stress, and coping with stress. So quick review, real quick. Motivation can definitely be biopsychosocial. So it is biological, hunger and thirst, right? Those are biological needs. It is also psychological, safety, for example, and motivated through what your conscience, guilty conscience, integrity, being honest, stuff like that. Um, and then social as well, right? Rewards and achievement and reinforcement and the self-esteem that you desire. Okay, so motivation is biopsychosocial. Bandura, remember Albert Bandura? He is all about social learning, observational learning. He does the Bobo doll experiment. He kind of decides some of the stuff with self-efficacy. What you believe yourself able to do, and how that kind of ties in with motivation and learned helplessness. And then again, he has also reciprocal determinism, which, if you can remember from previous video, is basically we affect those and those things, those people, those things around us, our environment, and our environment certainly impacts us as well. Okay. All right. So emotion. Emotion is physiological arousal. So that is arousal of the body and of the mind, right? So cognitive. So it's cognitive and physiological arousal, right? So our mind is experiencing emotion and our body is experiencing emotion. Okay, so behavioral. How do we express our emotions, right? The gestures that we use, the facial expressions that we use, our body posture that we're using, and then obviously our actions, right? Typically with joy, there might be jumping up and down and stuff like that. And with anger, there might be throwing things, or there might be clenching fists and stuff like that. So, emotion is physical as well, okay, or behavioral as well. Emotions and expressions have evolved over time. How we react to good news is different than it was centuries ago, right? And different expressions that we use, facial expressions that we use, are different than they were years ago. You can even thank Jim from The Office, right? When the camera would cut to him, and he always kind of have physical or those facial expressions. So emotions have expressed over, or adapted over time. So you see a little bit of the evolutionary theory play out there. Okay, so the first famous theory we have is the James-Lange theory, Lange is the last name. So the James-Lange theory. Emotion-provoking stimulus happens, right? So something to provoke or something to cause emotion happens. Then you have the physiological response. Okay, so then the body responds, and then the brain unconsciously responds, right? So the physical reaction comes first, and then the brain is going to process it, right? So you see a scary monster, you see a scary dog, right? There's the emotion-provoking stimulus. Your heart starts racing, okay? Your heart starts racing. That could be excitement, that could be joy, that could be happiness, that could be adrenaline, or that could be fear, right? So that you see a scary monster, the heart starts racing, and then the brain processes fear or fright or scared. Okay, this theory does not address cognition. Okay, so the James-Lange theory does not address the brain consciously labeling that a monster and then saying, I'm scared, right? The Cannon-Bard theory. So the emotion-provoking stimulus happens, okay, and then simultaneously messages are sent to the body and the mind, right? So simultaneously you have the physiological reaction and the mental or the conscious reaction. Sorry, unconscious reaction. Okay, so you see something, right, and that simultaneously is going to send our brain is going to send messages, for the physical response and the mental response. Okay, so it can help explain rapid experiences of both emotion and physical arousal, right? So with a scary monster, that's kind of more of a step-by-step process. And Cannon-Bard is going to address that things happen a lot faster, right? And it can be simultaneous. So it does not address cognitive factors. So again, you see a cute little puppy or you see a monster, right? That heart starts beating simultaneously, okay? And as that heart is beating at the same exact time, the mind is unconsciously saying, I'm excited to see the cute puppy or I'm scared to see the monster, okay? Not one after the other. Okay, Schacter-Singer two-factor, okay? So the Schacter-Singer two-factor theory, this one is actually based on experimental research, okay? So the emotion-provoking stimulus happens, right? Factor number one, the body reacts. Factor number two, there is a cognitive label. I am labeling what is causing me to react, and then that produces our experience of emotion. Okay, so you see a dog. Okay, so you see a dog. You will experience factor number one, joy or fear, right? And you are able to label that factor number two as joy or fear, and then you experience that emotion, right? So I see a dog, my heart starts racing, right? That doesn't really change from any of the other ones. What makes Schacter-Singer different is that when my heart starts racing, I am cognitively labeling this. That is a cute dog. My heart is racing because I'm excited to go pick it up, right? Or my heart starts racing because I am scared of dogs, and I label that, oh crap, there's a dog, it's going to get me, right? And so I'm labeling that fear, and then that results in me experiencing an emotion. Fight or flight, that is a stress response involving the sympathetic nervous system, right? And also the endocrine system, because you're going to be sweating, right? Perspiration is going to happen. The heart is elevated. Body temperature is probably changing as well. So the adrenal glands are signaled by the hypothalamus. Epinephrine and norepinephrine is being released. So the sympathetic nervous system then responds, right? So am I scared? Am I sweating? Am I running away, right? Am I frightened? Am I excited? Am I pumped up? Am I ready to go into battle? So we are experience this fight or flight response. Okay, let's see here. General adaptation syndrome. So this is a three-part stress response theory. The general adaptation syndrome, GAS. Number one, we have alarm, right? That is a sympathetic nervous system reaction. It is the highest level of stress hormones, right? We are alarmed. We are in a state of alarm, a state of panic. Number two is going to be resistance. This elevates levels of stress hormones. The body adapts to a higher arousal state, but it is not necessarily us, actively doing a whole lot. We're not going in and over panic mode or anything like that. The number three is exhaustion. You guys might have experienced this stress response before, but it's the body's internal when the body's internal resources have been depleted, right? So it could be after a very long stressful I apologize, I just used this example previously in other classes, but it could be, you might have been in charge of planning your group's prom, and then you were like the whole school's prom, and then you were maybe in charge of planning your small group, where you're going dinner and are you getting a limo and stuff like that, and then all the stress of picking out the perfect dress, and then all the physical activities of the dancing and after prom and stuff like that, and then your body is just depleted, right? It might have been positive stress, but it was stress nonetheless. and you are just absolutely worn out, right? It could be a state championship weekend, right? Again, that's good stress, that's positive stress, but your body is depleted. And either of those examples, before you know it, I mean, here's a 5-hour nap or whatever it might be. Um, and then obviously there's bad stress too. A terrible breakup, for example. Um, the stress that comes along with any kind of loss of a loved one. In which after a couple of days of really trying to manage and cope with that stress, the body's exhaustion. I mean, the body's resources are depleted, and you will physically and mentally feel that. Okay, the appraisal theory, the cognitive response to stress. Appraisal, right? You are appraising, or you are evaluating that. You are very more or less very consciously um, kind of knowing is a positive stress, of negative stress is too much stress. Can I handle this stress? How do I handle this stress? Okay, so primary appraisal, you elevate what is happening. You elevate. You evaluate what is happening, and you evaluate how you respond to that. Do you need to respond to that? How quickly do you need to respond to that? So what is the threat? What is stressing you? Okay, and then secondary appraisal is choosing the coping method, right? It is choosing the physical activity you're going to go do to release stress, or is choosing the song that you're going to watch, or or listen to, the movie you're going to watch, the friend that you are going to call, or the parent you are going to go talk to. Okay, so it is the coping method that you will choose. So tough tests that you take, a tough opponent that you played, bad conditions of a soccer game you played in. How do you cope with that? So a tough test, some kids might just give up, right? When they start taking that test, and you realize that, yeah, I'm not really prepared, might just give up. Okay. Some grit their teeth, and some really try harder. A tough opponent in some kind of sport, same thing. Some of us um, will not play as hard, will not try as hard. Some of us will go into that game maybe with a different mental state because we're not as confident, right? So here's something that's about to cause stress, and how do you deal with that? As a former girls soccer coach, that this was kind of big. Uh, as we were about to play a game in really cold conditions, or really rainy conditions. Some of you guys, softball will be the same. Some guys can definitely, kind of pick up. Sorry, I have a brain fart. Can kind of relate to this. Do you try as hard in those games? Do you play as hard in those games? Are you as focused in those games, or are you letting that stressor get you, right? Are you kind of succumbing to where you're giving into it? Oh man, I can't wait for this game to be over. And you're not really trying as hard, and you're not as focused. Okay. The last part, I'll probably just send out this weekend. It'll be easy stuff. It's the Lewin motivational conflict theory. You guys probably remember this. This is the approach, avoidance, approach, avoidance, and then double approach avoidance. I'll probably just kind of send some really short assignment out to you guys for that. But we did that kind of recently, so hopefully that's not too bad. All right, that is it for today. I will send that out and hopefully get you the FRQ response video today as well. Well, I hope, can't find my mouse, but I hope the weather is good there.